my husband lied, cheated, and broke every promise he made to me, yet still expected me to serve him like a perfect wife. But I took back my power and left without looking back. I found the receipts on a Tuesday. Not hidden in some secret drawer or buried in his email. They were just sitting there on the kitchen counter, mixed in with his work papers like he didn't even care anymore. Dinner for two at Romano's. The same restaurant where he proposed 5 years ago. The same restaurant he told me we couldn't afford for our anniversary last month. The receipt was dated last Thursday. I was at my sister's that night, helping her with the twins. My hands shook as I read the itemized list. 2 glasses of the expensive he always ordered for special occasions. The chocolate dessert he knew I loved but never ordered when we went out because we need to watch our spending. That's when I knew. After 8 years of marriage, after sacrificing my career to support his dreams, after 3 miscarriages that nearly broke me while he worked late, for our future, I finally knew what everyone else probably already suspected. David was cheating on me. I sat at our kitchen table. The one I'd refinished because we couldn't afford new furniture, and felt something inside me not break. Like ice under too much weight spider, webbing outward until everything looked different. I thought about confronting him, playing the perfect wife one more time, having a calm, mature conversation about our marriage and what went wrong, maybe couples therapy, maybe working through this like the strong, independent woman everyone thought I was. Instead I called Marcus. Marcus from my old job. Marcus who still texted me happy birthday every year. Marcus who told me 3 years ago at Janet's wedding that leaving me was David's biggest mistake. Even though I corrected him that David didn't leave, I chose him. Marcus who looked at me that night like I was still the ambitious, confident woman I used to be, before I became David's supporting character. Sarah. His voice was surprised warm. Everything okay? No, I said, and my voice sounded strange, detached. Actually, everything's terrible. Do you want to get coffee? Tonight. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became Marcus walking me to my car and hesitating, his hand on my door handle. Sarah are married, he said quietly. I looked at him, really looked at him. Marcus, who remembered how I liked my coffee, who asked about my photography, the hobby I'd abandoned when David said it was just taking pictures, who listened when I talked instead of checking his phone. I ask. Because my husband is having romantic dinners with someone else while I eat leftover takeout alone. That's when Marcus I him back, standing in the parking lot of Olive Garden, under the fluorescent lights and the smell of breadsticks, I betrayed my marriage. Not because I loved Marcus. Not because I was swept away by passion. But because for 30 seconds I wanted to feel like someone's first choice instead of their backup plan. It was the stupidest, most selfish thing I've ever done. When I got home, David was on the couch watching ESPN, empty bottles on the coffee table I'd asked him to use coasters on 1,000 times. How was sisters? He asked without looking. Fine. I lied, my lips still tasting like Marcus's cologne. Good. Hey, can grab me another. And maybe some of those crackers. I stood there in our living room, wearing the dress I'd bought for our last anniversary dinner that he'd cancelled for a work emergency, and I felt something finish breaking inside me. The sound of him asking me to serve him after I'd just discovered his betrayal after I'd just betrayed him back was like glass grinding against glass. Get it? I said. David's head turned. What? I said. Get it? I'm not waitress. He laughed. The condescending chuckle he'd perfected over our marriage whenever I had opinions about anything important. Okay, someone's in a mood. Is it that time of the month? 8 years. 8 years of that laugh. 8 years of being dismissed, diminished, treated like the hired help with benefits. 8 years of can't afford it, while he took mystery women to expensive restaurants. I walked upstairs and started packing a bag. Sarah, what are doing? David's voice carried the stairs, annoyed but not worried. Not yet. I was folding my favorite sweater, the one my mom gave me before she died, when I felt his presence in the doorway. What's going on? Argona's sisters again. I turned around. David was standing there in his undershirt and boxers, gut over his waistband, looking at me like I was malfunctioning appliance. I know about her, I said simply. For just a moment his face went blank, guilty, then the mask slipped back into place. Know about who? Sarah, being dramatic. Romano's. Thursday night. $73 on dinner while told me we needed to skip date night this month because of the mortgage. The silence stretched between us. I could see him calculating, deciding whether to lie or deflect, or he chose. So we're going through my stuff now. That's great, Sarah. Really healthy. Stuff was on the kitchen counter. It was a business dinner. With chocolate dessert and expensive. Sometimes business requires. Stop. I zipped my bag closed. Just stop. I don't want to hear another lie. That's when David changed tactics. The voice got softer, more manipulative. Sarah, baby, you're overreacting. Or stressed about dad's surgery and are seeing things that aren't there. My dad's surgery. The one David had forgotten, about 3 times. The one he'd missed because of another work emergency. The one where I'd sat in the waiting room alone for 6 hours while he texted me updates about his important meeting. I'm leaving, I said. For the night. Okay. Maybe some space would be good. No, David, I'm leaving. That got his attention. He stepped into the room, and for the first time in months, he was really looking at me. Can't leave. We're married. We have a mortgage. We have. What do we have? I ask. Really? A house where I clean and cook and organize while lie to me. A marriage where check out emotionally but still expect me to check all boxes. What exactly am I leaving behind? David's face was red now. Can't just leave because of one dinner receipt, Sarah. Marriage is work. Don't just run away when things get hard. One receipt. As if the receipt was the problem and not the years of being treated like I was lucky to be there. As if it wasn't the dismissive laughter and the forgotten anniversaries and the way he introduced me as just my wife, like I was an accessory instead of a person. Right, I said, shouldering my bag. Marriage is work, but I'm tired of being the only one doing it. I was almost to the bedroom door when he said it. Fine. Bo, don't come crawling back when realize how good had it here. Think anyone else is going to put with moods and anxiety and obsessing over every little thing. Think going to find better than this. I turned back to look at him one last time. David, the man I'd loved enough to give my dreams for. The man I'd supported through his career struggles and his father's and his midlife crisis beard phase. The man I'd betrayed just hours earlier in an Olive Garden parking lot. I already did. I lied. The look on his face would have been satisfying if I wasn't dying inside. I drove to the Holiday Inn on Route 9 and sat in their parking lot for 20 minutes, crying until my mascara ran down my cheeks and onto the dress I'd worn to feel beautiful for a husband who was making someone else feel beautiful instead. Then I called Marcus and told him I'd left. Can stay with me, he said immediately. For as long as need. That should have been a red flag. How quickly he offered, how ready he was to slide into the space David left behind. But I was drowning and Marcus felt like a preserver, and I was too broken to notice that preservers are temporary things. 3 days later, David's lawyer called. He was filing for divorce and claiming abandonment. Our accounts were frozen. The house was his since it was in his name from before we married her, and I'd never insisted on being added to the deed because I trusted him to protect me. I'd walked away from 8 years of marriage with one bag of clothes and the car that still had 2 years of payments left on it. But I'd shown him, right? I'd taken back my power. I'd refused to be the perfect wife anymore. Except I'd also another man while I was married. And I was living with him now, jumping from one relationship into another without taking a breath. Heard. And David's lawyer was painting me as an unfaithful wife who abandoned her marriage, which wasn't entirely wrong. The worst part. When my sister found out what happened, she just looked at me sadly and said, "Oh Sarah, why didn't just talk to him first?" Even she thought I'd overreacted. Even she thought I should have tried harder to save a marriage I'd already poisoned with my own betrayal. The perfect wife was supposed to stand by her man, forgive his mistakes, work through the problems. The perfect wife didn't other men in parking lots and then down her hole in righteous anger. But I'd never been perfect. I'd just been pretending for so long that I forgot the difference. Living with Marcus felt like wearing someone else's clothes. Everything was wrong, but in ways I couldn't name. He made me coffee every morning, but it was too sweet. He complimented my hair when I woke, but his eyes lingered too long. He asked about my day with the intensity of someone auditioning for the role of perfect boyfriend, not someone who actually cared about the answer. 3 weeks after leaving David, I was sitting at Marcus's kitchen table, scrolling through apartment listings on my phone, when he sat down across from me. "Don't need to find own place," he said. "This is working out great." Great for who? I wanted to ask, but I just nodded and bookmarked another studio I couldn't afford. The divorce papers came on a Thursday. Abandonment, adultery, irreconcilable differences. David's lawyer had been thorough. They'd somehow found out about Marcus, probably not hard, since I was literally living with him, and painted a picture of a cheating wife who left her devoted husband for another man. The devoted husband part made me laugh until I cried. But they weren't entirely wrong, were they? I had cheated. I had left. I was living with another man. The fact that David had betrayed me first didn't change what I'd done after. "Will it?" Marcus said, reading over my shoulder. "I'll pay for a lawyer. We'll show them who David really is." We. As if my divorce was a team sport. As if Marcus had earned a vote in how I handled the wreckage of my marriage. "I don't want money," I said. "Sarah, be practical. Don't have a choice." That phrase hit wrong. I'd been hearing it a lot lately. From Marcus, from my sister, from the legal aid lawyer who looked at me like I was just another woman who'd made bad choices and now expected others to fix them. "I always have a choice," I said. Marcus laughed, and for a split second, he sounded exactly like David. "Do. Because from where I'm sitting, broke, homeless, and about to get destroyed in court by ex-husband's lawyer. So yeah, let me help." I stared at him. This man who'd been so understanding, so supportive, so different from David. Except he wasn't different. He was just David with better timing. "I need some air," I said. I drove to the park where David and I used to walk our dog before she died. Bella, sweet. Bella, who loved everyone and never understood why some people were cruel. We'd had to put her down 2 years ago. Her and David cried harder than I'd ever seen him cry for anything, including our miscarriages. Maybe that should have been a sign. I was sitting on our old bench, the one with BSD carved in it from teenagers who probably broke 6 months later, when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Sarah, this is Jennifer. We need to talk." The name I'd been avoiding thinking about, the faceless other woman who'd been eating expensive dinners while I microwaved leftovers. "I don't think we do," I said. "Yes, we do. Because David told me we're getting divorced anyway. He told me been having an affair for months and he was just waiting for to leave." The world tilted sideways. "That's not," I started, then stopped. Because how to explain that only cheated after found out about the cheating? That betrayal was revenge, not the original sin. "Meet me at Starbucks on 5th Street, Jennifer said. 1 hour. And Sarah, bring proof that he was cheating? Because I have proof that we're." She hung. An hour later I was sitting across from a woman who looked exactly like me 5 years ago. Young, professional, confident. She had my old haircut and my old style of dress. She was even carrying the same designer bag I'd saved for when I still had a career. "We're not what I expected," Jennifer said, sliding into the chair across from me. "What did expect? Someone older, frumpier." David made sound like this bitter, cold woman who'd let herself go and stopped caring about marriage. I almost laughed. And believed him. Why wouldn't I? He showed me the texts. She pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots. Text messages from a number I didn't recognize, but they were signed with my name. Messages complaining about David, talking about how unhappy I was, mentioning Marcus by name. Messages I'd never sent. These aren't from me, I said. They're from phone number. I looked closer, she was right. My number. But messages I'd never written. Messages that painted me as a cheating, bitter wife who was planning to leave David for another man. He faked these, I whispered. Jennifer's confident expression cracked a little. That's not possible. But it was possible. David worked in IT. David knew about phones and apps and all the ways technology could be manipulated. David had been planning this long before I found that receipt. How long have been seeing him? I asked. 6 months. But Sarah, he told me. He told I was cheating and planning to leave, so it was okay, right? He was just moving on from a dead marriage. Jennifer's face went pale. You're saying he lied. I'm saying my husband is very good at telling people what they want to hear. I pulled out my own phone and showed her the photos I'd taken of the receipts, the dates that proved David had been taking her out while telling me we couldn't afford date nights. These are from before I ever talked to another man, I said. Before I even knew Marcus still existed. We sat in silence, two women who'd both been played by the same man in different ways. I'm pregnant, Jennifer said quietly. The words hit me like a physical. All those years of trying, of miscarrying, of David saying we should wait until his career was more stable, until we had more money, until the timing was better. All those years of thinking something was wrong with me, with us. He'd given another woman what he'd spent 8 years telling me we couldn't have. Congratulations, I managed to say. Sarah, I didn't know. About the lies. I thought we're saving him from a terrible wife. I get it. Jennifer started crying then, quiet tears that she wiped away with the back of her hand. What do I do now? I left my job to be with him. I signed a lease on an apartment near his work. I bought maternity clothes. I looked at this woman, this girl really, because she couldn't be more than 25, and saw 8 years ago, ready to reshape her whole around a man who collected women like trophies and discarded them when they stopped being convenient. Run, I said. As far and as fast as can. But the baby. We'll be better off with a mother who knows her worth than with parents who built their relationship on lies. Jennifer left first, clutching her purse like armor. I sat in Starbucks until they closed, trying to process what I'd learned. David had been planning this for months. The text, the careful manipulation of Jennifer, probably even leaving those receipts where I'd find them. He'd wanted me to discover the affair. He'd wanted me to react badly, to do something like another man and move in with him. He'd played me like a chess game and I'd moved exactly where he wanted me to. By the time I got back to Marcus's apartment, I'd made a decision. We need to talk, I told him. Marcus was on the couch in hand, watching the same sports highlights David used to watch. For a moment the similarity was so strong I felt dizzy. About the divorce, I told I'll pay for the lawyer, about why we're so ready to help me. Marcus's expression shifted, became guarded. What do you mean? I mean why we're so available that night I called. Why did offer to let me move in immediately? Why are so invested in my divorce? Because I care about Sarah. I always have. Or because saw an opportunity. The silence stretched between us. Outside a dog was barking and it reminded me of Bella, and suddenly I was homesick for a home that had never really existed. Think I planned this? Marcus asked finally. I think been waiting for me to be vulnerable for 3 years. I think saw a chance and took it. And I think I let because I was too broken to see straight. Marcus stood, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked angry. Really angry. Came to me. Sarah called me. Moved in here. Don't rewrite history because you're having regrets. He was right, and that made it worse. I had done all those things. I had used him as much as he'd used me. We were both trying to fill holes in ourselves with each other, and it was never going to work. Right, I said. I did do all those things, and I shouldn't have. So what now? We're gonna leave here too, run away from another situation when it gets complicated. There it was. The judgment I'd been waiting for. The confirmation that even Marcus, who'd seemed so different, ultimately saw me as the problem. The woman who couldn't stick with anything, who ran when things got hard, who made bad choices and then blamed everyone else. Yeah, I said. I think I am. I packed the same bag I'd packed 3 weeks earlier. Same clothes, same pictures, same remnants of I'd blown twice now. Marcus didn't try to stop me this time. He just watched me pack with the disappointed expression of someone who'd made a bad investment. I'll be back, he said when I reached the door. Don't have anywhere else to go. That was the worst part. He was right. I checked into the same Holiday Inn where I'd cried in the parking lot 3 weeks ago. Same room even. As if the universe had a sense of humor about my complete inability to move forward. I sat on the scratchy bedspread and called my sister. I need help, I said when she answered. Sarah, what happened now? The disappointment in her voice was so familiar it felt like coming home. I'd been disappointing people for months now. David, Marcus, my sister. I was getting good at it. I think I've made a terrible mistake, I said. Actually, I think I've made several terrible mistakes and I don't know how to fix any of them. Come home, Lisa said. Come stay with me and Tom and the kids. We'll figure it out. Home. To my sister's house where I'd be the cautionary tale aunt, the woman who'd thrown away her marriage and her stability for nothing. Where her kids would learn that sometimes adults make choices so bad they have to start over at 32 with nothing but a bag of clothes and a mountain of regret. Okay, I said. I'll be there tomorrow. That night, I dreamed about Bella. In the dream, she was still alive, still sweet and trusting, and she was trying to bring me a stick, but every time she got close I moved away. She kept trying, kept wagging her tail, kept believing that this time would be different. I woke crying, and for the first time in months, I understood why David had cried so hard when we put her down. Some things once broken don't get fixed, they just teach how much damage can live with.